All right, let's learn about some actions that we take on lists. And this is very exciting because you can perform a lot of actions on lists. Now, we have learned about in functions, right? Functions that come with Python. And we have actually seen this one before. We talked about lengths, which is the length of a function. Uh, Let me take a Jupyter notebook, length of a function, right? And here we have it calculate the length of the list. So for example, if I had a basket, let me not just do this. If I have a basket and which is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if I wanted to calculate the length of the basket, so let's do a print here, and I can just simply use the length function and put a variable of basket inside the length function, right? What do you think I will get the result? And when I just click run, I get 5, right? So the length of the basket is 5 because while there is 5 items, remember a length is the actual length. It doesn't start counting from 0. It's going to do human length, which is 5. But lists get really powerful when it comes to methods. So instead of a built-in function, remember a method is an action that it's owned by something and is specific. Let's say to a data type, right? So if we go to list methods, you will see that Python has a few methods that we can use. And the way we use these methods is, remember, we just need to add a dot after a list. Well, once you have a list, you are able to manipulate that list using what's known as a method. Like string methods, to use a list, you simply write the list followed by dot method. For example, to run the append method, let's take a list and let me just suppose to write here a variable called toppings, which is equal to, and I will open the list and say a word pepperoni, and then I also take another word called sausage, and then I take again a mushroom. So this variable of toppings contains this list, right, which you are seeing on the screen. So if this was a list I set to a variable called toppings, then I would do that variable dot append onion. Suppose if I wanted to execute this, let me just put toppings directly. If I wanted to execute, I just got the list which is there in the variable called toppings. Suppose if I wanted to add an item to the toppings, then I can just use the append method. As I said you that append methods will come with a uh, dot actually. Like in the Jupyter notebook, when you just enter a tab, you will see the list of methods which are there it on the screen when you can clearly see this. So I just need an append method. I can just click directly here, and what I would do is like these methods generally accept arguments. So I just wanted to put onion inside this parenthesis. So these are known as arguments. So now further, if I do execute this toppings dot append, if I wanted to put the variable toppings, and if I wanted to execute, what do you think you will get? Definitely onion is going to add at the last. Well, the extend method is similar to append method in that it allows you to add onto your list. However, the extend method allows you to add all of the items from another iterable. It may be a list tuple set to the end of your list as a separate items instead of one item. The method takes one required argument and that is iterable. Let me just add something here. if I wanted to put toppings, and if I wanted to add something called, mm, let me just put extend, and wanted to add onion as an argument. So now let us see, what do you think the output will be? Let me just use the print function and put the variable called toppings. Now, what do you think the output will be? You can see here each item in the argument has set to an iterable, right? So this is one kind of example. If I wanted to show you another kind, if I wanted to have a toppings gets extended with something like, with a list. Let me just use a list inside, um, parenthesis. Say potato, and then say tomato, right? I just pass these things inside a list, right? Now, if I wanted to print the toppings, what do you think you will get here? You will have potato and tomato added to the end of the list. You see that when extend method is used with an iterable, each item in the iterable is added to the list as a separate items, no longer bounded, right? On the contrary, when the append method is used with an iterable as the argument, the entire iterable is added to the list as one item. So it's always important to pay close attention to the commas and brackets present in the list. Well, now let's talk about pop method. The pop method allows you to remove an element from your list at a specified index value. The method can take one optional argument, the integer value of the index you wish to remove. By default, pop will remove the last item in the list. As a default value, it is a -1. Let me just put an example here. Toppings, a variable. I just wanted to put toppings as a variable and use the pop method. And if I wanted to put a pop here, what do you think we get here? That means it's moving the last item mushroom out of from this list. So when I execute toppings, when I just use the print function and put a variable toppings, what do you think I will get here? I get only pepperoni and sausage, right? So we don't see mushroom in the list. In further, like if I wanted to also remove let me just say pepperoni from the list. So how I can do it with the pop method? I can just simply use this toppings and put dot, and I can just simply click a tab here. I can just wanted to see whether it is there or not, or P if I just keep, I'll get it directly, right? So, and I use a pop method again. I this time I just wanted to give an index. So if you see pepperoni in the list, it's indexing at 0. So I can directly use 0. So when I click enter, I get pepperoni out from the list. So immediately if I use the print function and put a variable of toppings, then I get the output as only sausage is there in the list. So this is how we get used with the pop method in the list. Now let's talk about a remove method. Like pop method, the remove method allows you to remove an item from your list. The remove method though removes the first occurrence of a specified value in the list. The method takes one required argument, the item you wish to remove. So let me just use an example here. If I wanted to put, toppings here as a variable, and just wanted to use a remove method and shift a tab, it will directly give some hint for me. So I use a remove method here, and from here if I wanted to remove something from the list, I already know that I don't want a mushroom from the list, or let me just say sausage I don't want. So I can just give an argument called sausage, which is already exist in the list. So we need to be careful while giving a name here, because it should be almost same as it should be same as the list which we have given in the toppings. So now if I wanted to execute this, I just print here and I put toppings inside the print function. So I get only pepperoni and mushroom. So you can see that this is quite similar to the pop method, but here we are not giving any index values. We are just directly giving the name which is already existed in the list. Well, now let's talk about sort method. The sort method sorts a list by certain criteria. The method can take two optional arguments. The first argument is setting either reverse is equal to true or reverse is equal to false. By default, this argument is set to reverse is equal to false, which will result in alphabetical order if the list contains only strings, or ascending order if the list contains only a numbers. So let us just see an example where we can use a sort method. So we already have toppings as a variable, and we have provided the list of items inside the topping. So I just use a variable toppings here and put a sort method. Simply I just enter sort s and then quickly tab, and when I put the closed brackets, then if I wanted to print these toppings here, so I just get mushrooms, pepperoni and sausage, which are in alphabetical order. You can see that initially it starts with M N O P, then P Q R S. So the first letter has arranged within alphabetical order. So now if I wanted to shift this in a different way, so I can just use the sort method again, and I can use, as I said you in our explanation, I can use this argument reverse is equal to true, right? So let us see what we can get here. So now if I wanted to print toppings, I get from the last to first. That means each star this is how the alphabetical order shifts. That is from sausage, pepperoni, and mushroom. That's how it works. So similarly, we can see also for something different way. Let me just put here. Let me take some variable called prices. I just want you to give an example with the numbers. So I just wanted to put 1.5, 2.0, and then 0.5. So what do you think if I wanted to execute as a sort function? So I can use sort function here on this variable prices dot sort. So as I said you that by default reverse is equal to false for this. So if I wanted to print prices here, I get starting from zero point 0.5, 1.5 and 2.0. Suppose if I wanted to enter here reverse is equal to uh, reverse is equal to true. What do you think I will get? I will get it I will get all the numbers from descending order. You can see it here 2, 1.5 and zero point 0.5. That's how it goes on. Well, the next one is count. The count method returns the number of occurrence of a specified item in a list. The method takes one required argument, which is the item you wish to find the count of. This method can be useful if you wish to find out what items appear more than one in a list. Let me write an example here. Uh, for our easiness, let me just keep another item called sausage in the list. So now if I wanted to execute this, I get print. So I get all the items in the list, right? So now let me use a count method. Let me say the variable toppings and just say dot. I will just give C so that if I enter tab, it will give me an int called count. So I just simply enter here argument called let me just enter sausage. So it gives me 2 as a count because in the list we have specified sausage as a 2 items. So let me take another example. If I wanted to mention a pepperoni, if I wanted to know how many counts are there in the list, so I can simply get 1. Likewise, if you also put mushroom, you will get 1 for this toppings variable. All right. Well, now let's talk about index method. Index method returns the index of the first occurrence of the specified item. The method takes one required argument, which is the item whose index you wish to find. If the item does not exist in the list, you will get an error. So let me take an example here. If I wanted to put, take a variable called toppings, if I wanted to use index, I just wanted to find out the index of a mushroom, right? Let me just use this variable mushroom. What do you think we will get? uh, I'm sorry, a list object has no attribute. Okay, I'm sorry, I have given the wrong one here, so let me just put index. So I get 0 1 2. So it is taking mushroom is taking an index value 2 here. Suppose if I wanted to know the index value of pepperoni, so I can just simply enter here pepperoni, and then I get 0 index for pepperoni. So that's about index method. And the next one is insert method. Insert method inserts a specified item into a list at a specified index. The method takes two required arguments, the integer index you wish to insert the value at the end of the item. And let me just take through you an example. Suppose we have a toppings having a list of items here. Now, if I wanted to put toppings, I just wanted to use an insert method. Let me enter a tab here. So I get an hint here. I just wanted to use insert method. So it takes two positional arguments here. You can see here, I just wanted to keep the index 1 where I just wanted to replace onion at index 1 so that sausage will move to the index 2. So now I just wanted to use this one as an index. I just wanted to use you know onion in the list. So now what I get is when I wanted to use when I when I print toppings, I just get onion in the index value 1. So that's about insert. Well, now the next one is a copy method. Copy method simply returns a copy of your list. The method takes no arguments. For an example, toppings 2, let me take that as a new variable, and I just wanted to use all the items in the list called toppings. So when I use a copy method here, it just copies all the things from toppings. So if I wanted to execute toppings here, what do you think I will get? Toppings 2, right? So I get the same list which are there in the toppings. So that's all about a copy method. Now the next one is a clear method. The clear method simply removes all items from a list, leaving an empty list. That method takes no arguments. So we have again the toppings list here. If I wanted to clear all the items in the toppings list, I just simply use toppings dot clear, right? So now if I wanted to execute that print toppings, what do you think I get here? I get an empty list. So as the name indicates, that clear method clears all the items in the list. So that's it. With these above mentioned methods, you should be set to perform the operations you will need on Python list. For more information and examples, make sure that you check out the W3 schools list. Thank you. We'll see you in the next video.